Have you ever stopped just for a moment and really asked yourself, why does it hurt so much? Why, even when life looks fine on the outside, when you have a job, friends, maybe even a family, there's still this heavy pressure in your chest. That quiet, invisible weight that refuses to lift. You smile, you function, you even laugh. But deep down, there's this feeling that something's missing, something's wrong. And no matter what you do, you can't quite name it. You've probably tried everything. You've meditated, journaled, listened to motivational talks, read all the right books. Maybe you've poured your heart out to friends, forced yourself to think positive, or drowned the silence in noise, TV, scrolling, food, substances, meaningless relationships. But still, the pain lingers. Like a ghost that never leaves, a shadow that's always one step behind. Let me tell you something most people won't. Not because they're hiding it, but because they don't know it themselves. Most of your suffering, it doesn't come from outside. It's not your job, not your partner, not even your past, as much as it may feel like it. Your pain comes from within, from the parts of yourself you've forgotten, from the pieces you've buried so deep you've convinced yourself they don't even exist. Carl Jung, one of the most important voices in psychology, once said, "What you do not bring to consciousness returns as fate." That means the parts of you that you repress, your pain, your fear, your anger, your shame, they don't just disappear. They come back. They return in the form of anxiety, patterns, failed relationships, numbness. They keep repeating. And life? Life will keep trying to wake you up. But if you're not paying attention, it'll feel like punishment instead of a message. And maybe right now, you're not okay. Maybe you're at your breaking point. You're smiling in front of everyone, but inside you're screaming. Or maybe you've been in survival mode for so long, you've forgotten what peace even feels like. Maybe you've gotten so used to the pain that you've mistaken it for your personality. You think, this is just who I am. But it's not. It's who you became to survive. And I want to tell you something brave and brutal and true. You are suffering because you have abandoned yourself. Because you've been living a life that doesn't belong to you. Since childhood, you were told to behave, to fit in, to be what others expected. And so, you shut yourself down. You stopped expressing what you truly felt. You hid your desires, silenced your dreams, swallowed your anger. Over time, you began wearing a mask so well, you forgot you were even wearing it. Now here you are, living as a stranger to yourself, going through the motions, playing roles, functioning, but not living. And the soul, it notices. It always notices. That's why it screams through anxiety, through depression, through chronic exhaustion and emotional emptiness. Those aren't random symptoms. They're alarm bells. Your inner self begging you to stop, to look inward, to remember. But most people don't. They keep going, keep distracting, keep pretending, until one day, something inside finally collapses. The truth is, you're not broken. You're just disconnected. Disconnected from your truth, from your inner compass, from the most essential parts of your being. And the longer you stay disconnected, the more painful it becomes. You might believe the problem is the outside world, your boss, your partner, society, pressure, expectations. And sure, those things matter. But the deepest kind of suffering, the kind that makes you feel hollow in a room full of people, that comes when you lose touch with who you really are. Jung called this loss of self the greatest tragedy of the human soul, to live a life that is not yours. And many of us are doing just that, living someone else's script, acting out what we think we should be, all while a part of us inside is silently screaming, "This isn't me." And the more you repress who you really are, the more powerful your inner shadow becomes. That's what Jung called it, the shadow. It's not some evil force. It's simply the side of you that holds all the things you've denied. Your rage, your sadness, your jealousy, your lust, your ambition, your fear. Everything you were told was bad, or too much, or not acceptable. But here's the twist. What you push into the darkness doesn't disappear. It waits. It hides in your subconscious, influencing every thought, decision, and emotion without you even realizing it. That's why you sabotage good things. That's why you repeat toxic patterns. That's why you feel unfulfilled even when you're doing everything right. Until you face your shadow, it runs your life. And you'll keep calling it fate. Facing your shadow isn't easy. It requires brutal honesty. It means admitting things you spent years avoiding. It means letting go of the image you've created, the version of you designed to be liked, accepted, praised. You have to be willing to see the parts of yourself you've labeled ugly, selfish, weak. But once you see them, really see them, you can begin to heal them. You can bring them back home. Jung didn't believe the shadow should be destroyed. He believed it should be integrated. Because the truth is, your shadow holds power. It holds truth. It holds your voice, your passion, your fire. When you reclaim it, you reclaim your life. So what does that look like? It means listening, not just with your ears, but with your body. That tightness in your chest when you lie to keep the peace. That stomach ache when you betray yourself to please others. That fatigue when you force yourself to be someone you're not. Your body is speaking. Your emotions are speaking. And the question is, are you willing to hear them? Start writing, not to impress, not to be poetic, but to confess. Write what you're afraid to admit, what you've never told anyone, what you don't even want to tell yourself. Let it out, because the things you keep in the dark only gain power when they stay silent. When you bring them into the light, they lose their grip on you. And maybe, just maybe, you need help. A therapist, a guide, someone trained to walk through the darkness without fear. Because this journey isn't about getting better. It's about becoming whole. This isn't some feel-good journey with a happy ending tied in a bow. This is raw. It's real. It's terrifying. But it's also the most important thing you'll ever do. Because on the other side of this pain is you. Not the version of you that performs for the world, but the real one. The one who feels deeply, who dreams wildly, who knows what they want, even if they've forgotten how to ask for it. And here's what no one tells you. The pain you fear the most is actually a portal. It's not your enemy. It's the doorway to everything you've been searching for. Freedom, peace, purpose. You just have to be brave enough to walk through it. So if you've made it this far, if something in you is still listening, still curious, still reaching for something more, then trust that. Because your soul didn't bring you here by accident. You're not too far gone. You're not broken beyond repair. You're not weak. You're just ready. Ready to stop pretending. Ready to stop running. Ready to finally come home to yourself. And I promise you this, if you keep going, if you keep showing up, not for the world, but for you, everything will change. Not all at once, not in a straight line, but slowly, gently, truthfully, you will come back to life. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to begin. Begin with honesty. Begin with compassion. Begin with the willingness to face what hurts and love what's been lost. The shadow isn't here to destroy you. It's here to reunite you with everything you are. And that is where the healing begins. Most people spend their lives trying to escape pain. They treat it like an intruder, an error, something to be silenced or shoved away. They reach for pills to numb it, drown in distractions to forget it, chase temporary highs just to avoid sitting with it. They fill their calendars, their feeds, and their hearts with anything that will keep the ache at bay. Shiny achievements, shallow relationships, endlessly scrolling through curated lives that look happier than theirs. But beneath it all, there's a quiet truth humming in the background, one that most don't want to face. The more you try to outrun pain, the closer it gets. It's not something you can bury. You can't hustle past it, drink it away, or love it out of existence. Pain doesn't disappear just because you pretend it isn't there. It lingers. It waits. And it grows louder the more you ignore it. That's because pain isn't here to ruin your life. It's here to reveal it. Carl Jung, one of the great minds of psychology, didn't see suffering as a mistake. He saw it as a necessary passage, a rite of transformation. Pain is not the problem, it's the messenger. It shows up when something inside you is out of alignment. When a part of you has been silenced, rejected, or neglected for too long. Pain is your soul's way of saying, this can't continue. Something needs to change. The irony is that the very thing we spend our lives avoiding is often the only thing that can truly guide us home. But we treat pain like the enemy, when in truth, it's the compass. Every ache, every breakdown, every sleepless night carries information. It's a language, a symbolic, sometimes cryptic, but deeply honest language that's trying to get your attention. And if you can stop resisting it, if you can get still enough to listen, you'll find that pain isn't there to punish you. It's there to direct you. Think about it. When did you grow the most? When did you truly wake up to your life? Probably not during the easy seasons. Growth doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It's forged in fire, in the chaos, in the loss, in the falling apart. It's the breakdown that cracks open the breakthrough. It's the heartbreak that reveals what you truly need. It's the anxiety that whispers, you're out of sync with your truth. Pain isn't a flaw. It's a flare. A cry from within that says, look at this. Heal this. Stop running. Let's bring this out of theory and into real life. Imagine someone who spends years molding themselves to be what everyone else needs. They say yes when they want to scream no. They smile through burnout. They show up for everyone but themselves. On the surface, they're kind, agreeable, always present. But inside, they're unraveling. Anxiety creeps in. Exhaustion becomes a baseline. Sadness shows up with no name. They go to the doctor, run tests, get prescribed something to take the edge off. But the edge keeps cutting because the real wound isn't physical. It's emotional. They've abandoned themselves. And the body, wise, intuitive, patient, starts screaming what the mind refuses to acknowledge. You cannot betray yourself and expect peace. Now imagine someone else, caught in an endless loop of unhealthy relationships, always falling for people who are distant, cold, emotionally unavailable, always left feeling unworthy, unseen, unloved. They tell themselves it's just bad luck, but it's not luck. It's a pattern, a mirror, life repeating the same story until they finally ask, why am I drawn to what hurts me? And the answer is rarely found in the present, it's buried in the past. Maybe a childhood wound. Maybe a moment when love first became conditional. Until that wound is seen and tended to, the pattern repeats. Not because life is cruel, but because life is consistent in its invitations to heal. This is the shift. The moment you stop treating pain like a punishment and start seeing it as a teacher, everything begins to change. The suffering doesn't end immediately, but it transforms. It gains purpose. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? and start asking, what is this trying to show me? And that question is the beginning of real healing. Because once pain has your attention, it becomes less about what happened and more about what you choose to do with it. Something powerful happens when you stop resisting your emotions. When you stop editing yourself to be more likable, more acceptable, more together. Wholeness begins not when you fix yourself, but when you allow yourself to be. All of you, not just the curated parts. Your rage, your fear, your grief, your envy, the parts of you you were told to hide, to shrink, to suppress. They are not shameful. They are sacred. And the more you try to deny them, the louder they demand to be heard. Jung called this process individuation, not becoming special, but becoming yourself. Not who the world told you to be. Not the version of you that's palatable and polished, but the raw, unedited truth of who you are. And that truth isn't found in a self-help book or in a 5-step plan. It's found in the moments when you sit with your pain and say, okay, I'm listening. That's when healing begins, not when you avoid your wounds, but when you walk straight into them. There comes a moment, quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible, when you stop fighting. When the inner war ends, not with fireworks, but with a kind of sacred silence. A peace that feels unfamiliar because it's not dependent on anything outside of you. It's not the absence of chaos. It's the presence of self. And in that space, you begin to realize you are not broken. You never were. You've just been carrying the weight of everything you never had the chance to feel. This realization doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger, not in the armor-wearing, smile-through-it kind of way, but in the grounded, deeply rooted, truth-honoring way. You no longer tolerate what drains you. You no longer contort yourself to avoid conflict. You no longer say yes when every cell in your body is screaming no. And for the first time, maybe ever, you begin saying yes to yourself. But here's where it gets even deeper. When you've made it through the fire, when you've sat in your own ruins and rebuilt from truth, something unexpected happens. You want to help others find their way too. Jung believed that true healing isn't complete until it becomes contribution. Your pain, once transformed, becomes a gift, a light, not just for you, but for others still stumbling in the dark. Because once you've walked through your own shadow, you no longer fear the dark in others. You meet them there. You hold space. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect of healing far beyond what you can imagine. But this isn't a call to perfection. It's a call to presence, to responsibility, to living awake. Because now you see. And once you see, you can't unsee. You've touched the truth. You've heard the cry beneath the chaos. And now the question is, what will you do with it? It doesn't matter how long you've been in pain. It doesn't matter what was done to you. What matters now is what you're willing to do with it. The trauma that marked you doesn't have to be your prison. It can be your portal. The suffering you carry doesn't have to define you. It can refine you. But you must choose, again and again, to show up for yourself. To speak the truth, even when it shakes your voice. To honor your needs, even when others don't understand. To act on what your soul already knows. And here's the hard truth. This kind of awareness costs something. It costs your illusions, your excuses, your old coping mechanisms. It demands that you stop betraying yourself, that you stop shrinking, that you stop settling for half-lives and hollow love. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be honest with yourself, with your pain, with the life you know you're meant to live. Maybe today was your first real step. Maybe something cracked open inside you. Maybe, just maybe, The suffering that once felt like punishment now feels like a path, a call to come back home, not to who you used to be, but to who you truly are. So now I ask you, what part of this truth pierced through your armor? What resonated so deeply that you had to pause and breathe? Don't let it pass. Write it down. Share it. Speak it aloud. Because when you name the truth, you give it roots. And who knows, maybe your courage to face your own pain will give someone else the strength to face theirs. If this message stirred something in you, stay with it. Don't numb it. Don't click away. There's more ahead, more to uncover, more to heal, more to become. The next chapter is waiting, and it begins with this moment. You choosing not to run. You coming home.